I believe that I have been neglecting my warning labels, so to redeem that, I am going to put one in front of this video. Nothing I say should ever be taken seriously. That obviously applies to anything I imply about writing and storytelling. But more importantly, now when I'm actually occasionally talking about something educational or education related, I should stress that this is not an educational channel in any way, shape, or form, and that I am the very last person anyone should ever take any advice on learning and studying from. With that said, I wanted to skim through the remnants of memories I have in regard to past modal verbs. When it comes to some of them, they have these structures that replace them when we wish to utilize them in the past, such as had to, allowed to, and did not have to. In other cases, the structure usually follows a formula of modal verb have plus the normally created past form of the main verb. And these modal verbs can be used in various situations such as speculations, conditions, criticism to varying degree. Then also the third conditional with the unreal consequences in the past, possibility and uncertainty about past events, and in many other different cases, displaying just how important modal verbs are and how heavily English relies on them to express certain feelings and structures. And also the CAE test itself puts a rather heavy emphasis on learning these. Not just that, but also being able to fluently utilize them without sounding inorganic, which is something that I have been working on for quite some time now, specifically with my own writing, a smooth transition, because I also wanted to talk about different races and the fact that when I'm going to use them in my stories, I want to go all the way into things such as how their bodies work, how do they convey commands to different appendages, how and if they even have muscles and joints and organs, how do these work in contrast to our perception of these parts of our bodies. And so I would like to explore how do these creatures move and think and somehow introduce all that naturally through some combination of conversations and observations done by the protagonist and even confrontations, seeing when their joints, as the protagonist perceives them, behave in incomprehensible ways, completely unexpectedly, are capable of moves that would cripple a human being, but on the other hand, are unable to perform some motions and gestures that we consider maybe even automatic. Also, the way they register pain, if they even have a feeling such as that, and how it can be caused by stimuli that humans would consider completely trivial, while simultaneously being able to completely shrug off potentially life extinguishing damage as if it were not even there. I truly, nigh desperately want to get this right, in light of which I am going to wait for only after I finish at least two of my ideas to attempt to introduce a character that is not human and yet is sentient, can express himself or herself, and will interact in some meaningful ways with the protagonist, because I firmly believe that my ability to come even close to what I want from a creature like that appearing in my story would heavily benefit from some actual experience rather than simply wishful thinking. So for now, this will stay in the realm of speculations and hopes and dreams, and maybe it will turn into something different much further down the line. For now, though, maybe the last section, but most definitely not the least, the rapid arrows, and the last few remaining adventures before I will have to turn my attention to the three books. For now, though, the continuation to the previously told story and the uncomfortably wild ride they received from the maybe Samaritan. Likely it was not intentional, but he still drove them quite far away from their intended destination. And when they finally do get out of that truck, it is Speedy who tries to gather some information on where the big pond is supposed to be, but the driver has no idea. It's almost night and they are nowhere near a suitable camping place. So after gathering their bearings, they wander around the village and finally find a kind farmer willing to let them spend the night in his barn. He also provides some clues on how to get to that pond. Unfortunately, it is quite far away, so they will have to put in some work, well, legwork, in tomorrow. Before that, though, they will need some well deserved rest considering the distance they have traveled so far that day. One last thing before that, though. The farmer confiscates all their matches for obvious reasons. Any potential source of fire around hay is quite dangerous. He then gives them a final warning that there might be mice present, although that is not something the Rapidaros would lose composure over since they know Bristles, and even though they are not exactly friends, especially not with his little friends, still though it does mean that they are well acclimatized to these rodents. Well, under normal circumstances. However, as it turns out, as they lay down to finally get some respite, there are no mice here. What lives in this place are some demonic rattling entities, and as the boys turn on their flashlights, they can see them trying to force their way into their bags. And to protect the aforementioned knapsacks, projectile weaponry is necessary, and by that I mean a shoe. Then the boys proceed to hastily reposition themselves outside of the barn, giving up a roof over their heads for the night, for the sake of not having to deal with pesky neighbors, their new destination being a stack of hay laid down outside. When they get ready to hopefully sleep this time, Redcap scouts another group of young people somewhere nearby thanks to the smell of cigarettes, but everyone is simply too tired to even care about it at this point. Although Speedy has an important question before he will be able to close his eyes, which is to ask Mirek if it is pronounced chocolate or chocolate, a question to which Mirek ironically replies that he is quite positive that the correct term is chocolate, and adds that he would love to have Speedy's problems, which he follows by strongly recommending him to finally get some sleep. The repose, though, does not last long, as Mirek wakes up startled as they can smell and even breathe fire nearby. With smoke everywhere, they rush out only to meet the owner, who is obviously not exactly happy to see his property in flames. They do remind him of the fact that they did hand in everything they had in possession that could start a fire, and then point out the existence of the other group of people and the fact that they were smoking. So while they might not be the prime suspects of this, well, crime, maybe out of negligence, but still, the situation is not over yet. In contrast, this is only the beginning, although this is the end of the video, and I will continue in the next one.